Director for Deadwood History, and today we are continuing our series with our archaeology camp. As you might know, our archaeology camps did have to be canceled this year because of the coronavirus. We just didn't feel it was safe to have all of our little kiddos in an area where we couldn't successfully social distance. So instead of having an in-person archaeology camp, we are doing a virtual archaeology camp. And I have here my little portable dig box. If you watched last week, you might remember I listed off the things that you will need to have a successful archaeology camp, things like a water bottle and a hat and to wear sunscreen and to bring your great attitude. So I hope you brought it today because we're going to continue by talking a little bit more about the tools that we'll use, and then I'll get started with my dig. So last week we talked about a few of the tools that I use, things like a trowel, and it's got a really nice sharp point, so I want to be really careful with it. I've got a couple of different types of brushes depending on the area that I'm digging in. I've got a smaller ruler, and then I also have, on my other side, two of these large meter rulers, these 3-meter rulers right here. These are going to help me measure where in my site I found my artifact. I also have some other things like a pencil so that I can keep a record of the things that I find. Make sure that when you're finding things in your dig box that you are describing them as much as possible. Don't just write down something like I found a piece of a rock or I found a piece of glass. You want to make sure that you're very descriptive with it. So you would say something like I found a piece of green glass that is, and then you would measure it. You might measure it out. So that's why you have the little ruler also. I also have a few other tools and my dustpan so that I can make sure that I get some of my extra dust out there. Otherwise, I'm kind of just pushing it around my box and it gets in the way. So I have my dig box already ready to go. What I did was I found north. So the way that I found north was I used a compass. Compasses are really cool because they always point north, and they do that because they're looking for the magnetic pole. So when I use my compass right here, I point north. So I would just spin it around until I find north. And I already did that, so it's already pointing north, just like that. And I have my north point, where I'm gonna have this corner right here pointed. This is my north side and my east side. So when I measure things out, I'm gonna measure long way and then this way, okay? So I'm gonna measure one way and then this way, whenever I'm measuring, whenever I find an artifact, so that I know exactly where in my site I found it. Does that make sense? I hope so. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our dig now that I have all of my tools and I have all of the things that I need to keep a record. And we have to go really slowly when we do this because I don't want to just take my trowel and just go whoop, because I might hit something and break something and then I don't have a complete artifact. I've got pieces of an artifact. And it's a little bit harder to study that way. So I'm going to take my trowel and I'm going to be very, very careful about how I dig in this box. And I have my little dustpan here so that I can start to collect some of the extra dirt that doesn't have anything in it. And what I'll do is I'll take that extra dirt and I'll put it in a bucket to be sifted through later, because there may be even smaller pieces than just what I find in here that are important to the history of the archaeological site. So that's something that you put off and you sift through later, is the extra dirt. So I'm just gonna keep this in here. It's not gonna hurt anything to have it right on there, because I'm gonna start in this corner over here. And I'm just gonna start sifting through my sand in one spot. You don't wanna just start in the middle and go wild inside of there. You're gonna go very softly in here, and you can actually see the different types of sand and dirt that are in here. If this were a real site and you were seeing the different types of dirt, that would tell you that there's been some site history in here, because it means that the earth has been kind of changed over time. So I'm gonna keep going very carefully because I don't want to hit anything and break anything, because who knows what I'll find in here. There could be all sorts of things. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, move that around, and start kind of getting some of this extra dirt and sand out of my way so I can dig a little deeper. just like that. And I'm just going to keep going. Now remember, if you're doing this at home, that you know, maybe your adult has helped put some things in here. If you don't know, you're definitely not going to know what you're looking for, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just keep digging. Just want to make sure that I'm getting a lot of this extra dirt. I found something. Okay, so I can see from here, there's a little piece of white sticking out of this dirt. So I'm gonna put my trowel away for right now, and I'm gonna get a brush so that I can very carefully brush around it, okay, until I can see most of it. And I wanna be really careful when I do this that I'm not pushing it around, that I'm not moving it in any way. Because if I move it out of the spot where I found it, then my archaeological record will be wrong. So there's something right there. I've uncovered most of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure where in my site I found this artifact. So I'm going to do that by taking 2 measurements. I'm going to measure this way, the long way. And I'm also, this is why I have 2 of these, going to measure this way. And I want to make sure that I've got it right on in that corner. So I can see that it is at 17 3/4 inches and at about 4 inches. I'll do some extra measuring in a little bit. So what I would do then is I would take my log that I have here and I would write down the number of my, where's my pencil? There it is. The number of my artifact. So in this site, we've already found 12 artifacts. So I would put 0, 1 to 3 because this is the 13th one. And I'm going to say that this is a small white triangular and I can't be 100% sure if it's porcelain or pottery or anything like that. So I would say something like it's just a small white triangular piece. I don't know a piece of what yet. And then I would put that it was found at 17 3/4 northing and 4 easting, 4 inches easting. And then I would measure the depth. That's why I have this little one. And this is going to be, I want to make sure that we're nice and level. And that's why I have a level here. And we are. And I'm going to measure how far down it is. It's 5.5 inches down from the top of my site. So I'd write that down too. 5.5. Once I've done that, then I can successfully take it out of the site, put it in a bag, and have it analyzed a little bit later. So that is kind of a brief overview of how we do our archaeology digs. Again, we aren't able to be outside with them, so we are doing our portable dig here. I hope that you've learned at least a little bit about archaeology, and I hope that you join us for some future videos. We're going to keep doing these for a little while. And if you have any questions about archaeology, go ahead and send me a message or give us a phone call at 605-578-1657. And just remember, please don't go out into the forests and parks and dig. Make sure you're doing it at home with your own dig box. And we also, you can also send us an email. My email address is amanda@deadwoodhistory.com. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week. Bye.